very positive in my confession. I'm very positive in the things that I say. How many of you know you get what you ask for?
Yes, sir.
How many of you know that sometimes there's some negative things that come into your life and you didn't ask for them? You're speaking life over your family, but you face tragedies. You face things that you weren't expecting, brokenness. Come on, that's a beautiful piece of photographic art here. Come on, tough crowd. It's beautiful right there. Just beautiful picture of brokenness, marshmallow bunny. But some of us have faced real anguish, real tension. You know, sometimes I'm believing what Pastor D said, that we are not going to get negative news about our children. But I do know in the past I have. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And through those opportunities, again, I have to make choices to forgive, choices to love, choices to bless, and not to curse. And this is part of my quandary is, can I suffer the way that Jesus suffered? Am I going to shake my fist at God? Am I going to be angry with the Lord just because I go through dark seasons? Or can I remember that there is a destination for me? That he wants to conform me to the image of his Son. Because at the end of the day, that is God's promise. That is his blessing for me. It's not just wave some magic wand and everything comes together in my life. No, but sometimes through the darkness, the things that the enemy wanted to destroy me with, God says, I can use this for good. I can knock that edge off my boy Mark. I can get that crustiness out of his attitude. I can get that worrisome, fretting anxiety out of his head and make him start thinking like Jesus. I'm going to bring him through this so next time he can look back and say, faithful is he who has called me, and he will do it because I've been through the valley of the shadow of the death, and I've learned that I don't have to fear evil. But again, it's after I've suffered a little while. Again, I'm not saying God causes the suffering. I'm not saying that's God's will. I believe it's his will to restore and to heal and to make everything new, because that's just how he rolls. But then he says, after. Somebody say that word out loud. It's a word of promise. Somebody say after. After I've suffered a little while, he himself will restore you. This, again, this is where the news turns beautiful. This is where the death turns to encouragement. And this is where, if you don't mind terribly, I'd like to spend the rest of the message. God's doing something. He's making something in me. He's changing me. He's transforming me day after day by the power of his grace and to the praise of his glorious grace. I'll tell you where I get most often hung up. You'll see it here on the next slide if I can get it to roll. Sometimes there's a gap. There's a season between sowing and reaping. Does that help you at all? I mean, I would like it if I could just put my seed in the ground and then the next morning come up and there'd be harvest. But for some reason, it doesn't work out that way, does it? It seems I'll put my seed in the ground, I'll sow in faith. And how many of you know, you got a choice. Like, you could take that seed, especially if it's wheat, and you could dry it, you could grind it up, send it into the grist mill, and eventually grind it up so fine it would be flour. And that's food. You could eat it. Or you make the choice to plant it. Same thing. It falls into the ground, it dies, it dries out. The autumn rains come. You got that long winter season where nothing is happening. And then boom, you get a little bit of a sprout. And sometimes we look at the life in that and we get all excited. We see the stalk appear. We see the head appear. We say, oh God, thank you. Life is coming. And then we start to worry. Like before harvest time, for me, this is where I break down. I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done that 11 months ago, 10 months ago, 5 months ago, 3 months ago. I should have taken advantage of the moment and just had the food. But we put our seed in the ground, listen to me, as an act of faith, as an expression of I believe something bigger is coming. And the bigger is multiplication.